Hey guys, welcome back to the Pruning Podcast. I'm your host, Ataya Smith, and Happy New Year's, guys. It is literally crazy that we are literally in 2025. Like, what the heck happened to this year? Like, what? Yeah, guys, Happy New Year. I pray y'all had a very Merry Christmas. I just feel like last year, flew by and, we're here. And so I'm so excited to see all God does in this year. So this podcast is just basically just going to be about goal setting for the new year. I just wanted to share with y'all my word for 2025 and just encourage y'all to have a word for 2025 and then just a little bit of encouragement. So yeah, guys, I'm so excited for this new year. If you're walking into this new year and you're like, oh my gosh, I have all these goals that I want to do, but it's how can I accomplish these goals? I didn't even accomplish my goals in 2024. Y'all, leave that behind. Don't turn into Lot's wife. Don't look back on the past. Walk straight. It's okay, God, I'm setting these goals. This year is going to be different. This year, I'm going to make the change that I need to do to accomplish all that I want to see and do for your kingdom. So yeah, I just want to first say that reminder because that's me. I'm oh my gosh, I have all these goals, but I didn't even complete all my goals from last year. And literally, y'all, last year I was I want to read a book, and I started 5 books and I didn't finish one of them. So if that's you, you're not alone. It's okay. It's okay to dream new dreams. It's okay to be okay, I'm actually going to start and finish 5 books this year. That's okay. And so saying that, I feel some practical ways in goal setting is I know a lot of times it's literally every year, y'all, okay, this is besides the topic, but y'all have serious FOMO right now because I am not in Passion. And if you've ever been to Passion, it's the best conference of your life. I will be there in 2026. This year was just crazy and it was just a lot of last minute, but I'm planning early for next year and I will be there in 2026. It's my favorite conference ever. I've been there for the past 2 years, and yeah, I just wanted to say that because the second round of Passion is tomorrow and I'm oh my gosh, I want to be there. But it's okay. We're still gonna have a great start to this year. But all that to say, I feel a lot of times it's yeah, we have these vision board planning parties, we set all these goals, and then it's oh my gosh, these are all my goals, how am I going to obtain them all? And it's we try to do everything at once, if that makes sense. For example, if your goal is I want to read 5 books this year, you're okay, I need to start reading a book. It's not practical steps you can take in order to read 5 books this year. And so that's just something I learned. And so this is just an encouragement for you to break it down. And what I mean by break it down is set it up in increments. And so write this down, y'all. Write down all, I'm literally doing this with my friends today. We're going to write down all of our goals and we're going to obtain it by quadrants, if that makes sense. So for instance, January through March should be quadrant 1. April through June, quadrant 2. July through September, quadrant 3. October through December. So it's we have 4 quadrants and we're breaking up those goals in 4 different ways. It's not just I'm gonna have 10,000. I want to have 10,000 subscribers on YouTube next year. How am I gonna do that? I'm gonna break it down. 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm gonna have 2,500 each quadrant I need to gain. So what do I need to do daily? I need to be posting 3 times a day, stuff like that. So I feel whenever we break it down, we're able to maintain those, and it's not whoa, how am I gonna dream? How am I gonna accomplish all these goals without it being overwhelming? And you're gonna do that by breaking them down, going step by step. So yeah, that's my first piece of encouragement, is just to break down your goals for 2025. Don't try to achieve it all at once. Set time frames for things. January through March, I want to finish 1 book. April through June, I want to finish my 2nd book. Okay, that's 2 books. So July through September, I need to read 2 books in that time. And then October to December, I need to finish 1 book. And y'all, that sounds so much more maintainable than just saying, I want to read 5 books this year. It's so much more maintainable whenever you break it down than just keeping it all together, if that makes sense. So that would be my first piece of encouragement for going into 2025. And then also, so goal setting, breaking down your goals. And then also, literally my last, the day before the day before New Year's, I was listening to a message by Jackie Hillberry, and I felt God convict me in so many different ways. And so I just wanted to share that with y'all. Like, walking into 2025, we need to have like a clear vision, a clear mind, like a restart. We do not need to be fixated on the things that didn't happen last year. We need to be fixated on our future and our future things, our future goals. And then like 2 pieces of advice I would give you moving forward into 2025. So my first thing would be, this is from Jackie Hillberry. Let me find my notes. I forgot my notebook, y'all, so I'm using my phone. But okay, so the first thing would be like, I feel like so many Christians get this misconception that it's like, I follow God now, so like my feelings aren't valid. Like, it's not okay for me to like wrestle with God. Like, y'all, we are human. Like, we have unbelief, and God knows that. Like, it's what makes us human. What word is it? It's what makes us, it's what gives us humanity. It's what makes us humans. Our emotions, our feelings, like, God knows we have feelings. God knows we have emotions. And so I feel like a lot of times it's like, for like, something didn't work out with this person, and like we break up. And it's like, God, like, we're scared to be like, God, why? Like, God, why did you give me this for it to end? Like, we're scared to ask God that question. And so I want to challenge you, going into the new year, don't think like you can't question God. Like, yeah, it's okay to ask God why, but then we're supposed to be like, God, but I trust you. But it's so, like, your feelings are valid, and it's okay to feel confused. It's okay to be like, God, I don't understand. Like, it's okay. You're just because you're a Christian does not mean you have to have it all together. Like, it's okay to wrestle with God. What's not okay is to sit in those feelings. So instead of acting less human-like and being like, I don't have, like, I'm just gonna get over these feelings, I don't have to feel them. No, we need to feel those feelings in order to truly like release them and give it to God. Like, for one thing, it makes us human. Like, God knows we have feelings. He doesn't expect you to just be like, okay, God, like yeah, sometimes okay, but like, y'all, sometimes you're gonna be like, oh, like, literally, what are you doing, you know? And so that's something I had to learn, because I felt like I was like, whatever, like, I guess, God, this isn't your best for me. And then like in the back of my head, I'm like, what the heck is he doing? Like, I don't understand. But it's like, God's like, no, I'm human. Like, you think, like, yes, God is way higher than us, but like, y'all, he's a father and a friend. He's not a genie. So he's not just going to grant your wishes. He wants you to have a relationship with him. Whenever you're going to argue with someone, what do? You talk about it. Talk about it with God this year. That would just be my piece of encouragement, because I know personally, I feel like I found myself in a position to where it's like, I'm scared to ask God questions. I'm scared to ask God, why did this happen, you know? And I feel like that's a lot of us. So that would be my first piece of advice. And then also saying that, like, God, praying the prayer of like, God, help my unbelief. Like, God, I know you promised me this. It's not happening right now. So help my unbelief. So I just feel like that needs to be a prayer posture, because a lot of us, it's like you're scared to say you don't believe. Like, God, I know that you promised me a family. I know that you promised me a future. But there's this part of me in the back that doesn't believe that. Lord, help my unbelief. Like, it's okay to ask him to help our unbelief. It's okay. Like, you're just showing him that you're vulnerable. And it's like, God, I believe these things you say about me, but help the parts of me that don't want to believe. And I feel like God knows that is okay, y'all. It's okay to ask him to help your unbelief. And so that would just be a first piece of encouragement, is just having those honest conversations with God, and just like talking with him throughout the day, and just having that father-daughter, like that father-child relationship, and not just treating it as like, God, like, I only can ask you like God things. I can't be honest with you. I can't be vulnerable with you, you know? And so I just felt like I struggle with that. And so I see that a lot of people may be struggling with that. You're like, God, like, what are you doing? And you're scared to ask that. So this is me telling you, it's okay to ask the hard questions to him. He knows it's okay. He loves you anyway. And then also, my second piece of advice would be going into this year is that you can't, like, I cannot say the word. Sanctification and purification is a group project, y'all. You need godly community in order to continuously be sanctified, in order to continuously remain pure. Like, a lot of us think that we can do these things by ourselves, but it's like, no, like, God calls us to community. Like, in order to remain pure, you need godly community. Like, you need friends who will call you out. You need people you can lean on, like, when you don't understand. Like, you need community. Like, to be sanctified, you need community. Like, you cannot do this on your own. No matter what you tell yourself, you cannot do this on your own. And so if you're like, I just don't have any godly friends to do this with, then my encouragement for you would be to pray about it and ask God for those godly friends, those godly connections that can help you become a better you and just push you further to God. Because it's like, a lot of people don't say this, but genuinely, if you're not growing, you're dying. Like, there's no middle. A lot of people like to think, well, you're either growing or you're dying. Growing doesn't have to look like 1 to 130 days. Growing can look like 1 to 2 in 2 weeks. You're still growing. But if you're not growing, if you're stagnant, then you're dying. And so you need people to help you grow. Like, you need godly community just to help you, like, become the best versions of yourself, guys. And so that's just some really good things that and also, like, in that episode, y'all, I am that girl. Like, I feel my feelings. And so emotional idolatry is stuff we all deal with, you know? Like, we let our emotions become idols in our life. And what I mean by that is, like, you let your emotions dictate how you feel and what you do. And I'm guilty of that. I know that. I'm calling myself out. And, like, I didn't understand that. Like, I understood anything can become an idol, but I didn't understand that I was struggling with that until I'm like, why does this dictate every area of my life? And so we have to make sure that we're aligning our feelings with God. Like, our flesh wants one thing, but it's like, we have to stand on the wisdom that God has given us in order to say no to our flesh and yes to God, you know? And so my other encouragement is to not let your feelings, like, be your idol. Like, don't be led by your feelings. Be led by the word of God. And, like, it's so much easier said than done. I know, because sometimes it's like, I'm mad at this person, I want to go off on them right now. But it's like, no, God's like, go talk to someone about it. Then go talk to them about it. Then if that doesn't work, then you bring 2 people to talk. Like, stuff like that, y'all. So he gives us these things. He gives us the Bible, which I forgot my Bible at home, but he gives us these things to walk through life. And he knows these things are vital in order to remain and have that constant relationship with him. And so that was my other piece of advice. And then also, I just wanted to talk about, like, having a word for 2025. If you don't know what that is, every single year, like, most people do it, like, they have, like, a word for the year. And so I told myself my word for this year would be fruitfulness and pursuit. I feel like last year, and a lot of us probably feel like this, but I feel like last year was a pruning season of life. Hint, the pruning podcast. Like, last year was such a pruning season. I feel like the last 3 years have been pruning seasons of my life. And I'm like, God, like, yes, it's been fruitful. Like, I started this podcast last year, so yes, I've had fruit out of last year, but I still feel like the majority of the year I was being pruned. And so I'm like, I feel like this year is the year I gain the fruits of that. And so pruning is anything, like, it's kind of like a Christian metaphor. It's used with fruits, but it's to take off the old to, like, be able to replace it with so much more, if that makes sense. So, like, in John 15, and my Bible verse for this year is John 15, and it's like, I came over this yesterday because I'm like, God, I don't know what to talk to them about. So I feel like God just led me to all of this kind of stuff just to say, walking into the new year. But if this is you, then y'all can share this word with me. Y'all can stand on this Bible verse. But this is the Bible verse I'm standing on this year. And in John 15, the first verse, he's like, I am cutting off, like, branches that do not bear fruit. Which means he's taking away the things that aren't fruitful in my life. He's taking away people that aren't bringing fruit in my life. Like, yeah. It sucks. The pruning season sucks. But everything that has not brought fruit in my life, I feel like last year and the years before that, and even this year, he's pruning me. Like, he's cutting those off so I can be overflowed with fruits of God. And that's okay, y'all. Like, it sucks right now. But when we see that fruitfulness, we'll be like, this was all worth it. And so if that's you, I just want you to hold on. Like, God's got you. And it's like, and later down in John 15, he says, like, the only way you remain faithful, like fruitful, like the only way your branches remain fruitful is if they're in me. You cannot be fruitful outside the will of God. And that was just like so good, because it's like so many of us, we think we can, like, yeah, like if you look on social media, people's lives look great who aren't living for God, but y'all, that's just a front. Like, they're probably miserable inside, and it's like they're not doing things for the kingdom. Like, they're not being they're not being God's definition of fruitful, you know? And so in this Bible verse, back to all that to say, but in this Bible verse, he's saying you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. So in order to receive the fruitfulness he has for me this year, I have to remain in him. Make sure the things that are connected to me are bearing fruit. Like, I can't have people in my life who aren't of God, if that makes sense, or I can't expect to be fruitful. And so I truly feel like this year is the year of fruitfulness in so many people's lives, that we will see the fruit of all the hard work. Like, we will see the fruit of the faithfulness. We will see the fruit of the pruning, you know? And so it's like right now it's like, oh my gosh, like, God, this is so hard. Like, God, why are you doing this? Like, I just want to see the fruit. I understand, y'all. I'm there. I've been there. I've been walking through it. But it's so important to know that he is good. And at the end of the day, he knows what's best for us. And like, if he's cutting something off, it's because it's killing you. It's not bearing you fruit. Like, why wouldn't you want something cut off of you if it's killing you? And so, yeah, that's just something else that I was standing on this year's John 15, is that everything that's God's cutting away from my life, it's because it's not bearing me fruit. And it's not a part of the fruitfulness he's promised me in 2025. And then also just pursuit. I feel like so many of us, like, we start to pursue things, and then it's like we back off, and then we continue, and then we back off. So it's like, no, I'm going to pursue things to the fullest. Like, I'm going to pursue God to the fullest, like my fullest potential. I'm going to pursue this podcast to the fullest. I'm going to pursue my sports to the fullest. I'm going to pursue this relationship to the fullest. Whatever he has for me, I'm going to pursue it. It's not just going to be a halfway, like, I'm going to pursue it. And so that's basically what I got out of John 15. And that's just the Bible verse I'm holding on to this year, is that, y'all, this year is going to be the year of fruitfulness. And like, that just reminds me, like, this, like, y'all know the New Orleans terrorist attack, the shooting in Queens, like all of that kind of stuff. Like, this year had like the worst start to a year ever. And so it's like, it looks scary because we're walking into uncharted territories. Like, we have a new president. Like, we don't know what tomorrow holds. But I just want you to hold on to that. Like, God knows what tomorrow holds. Therefore, he's got us. Like, the world could be ending, but our hope is in the Lord Jesus. It's not in this world. It's of the things of heaven. And like, as believers, we have a hope to look forward to, you know? And so I just want to encourage you to not be like the world, and while the world is panicking, you remain like unwithered. Like I was telling my friend, it's like, I've had a peace that I've never had before. Like, you know, like the shootings, all the terrorist attack, and I'm normally the person that's like, oh my gosh, that is so scary. Like, I never want to go to New Orleans again. I never want to go to New York. Like, they're shooting? What? I don't want to get on a plane. They're shooting. What if they shoot our plane? That's normally me, y'all. Like, I'm not a fearless person. I'm very, like, I'm working on it, but I have a pattern. Like, I just get scared very easily. And so I'm not that person. And so I feel like God has given me such a peace that surpasses all understanding about this world, about every single thing in my life that I'm working through, that like, I know it's gonna be okay. Like, when the rest of the world is panicking, I'm like, God's got this. Like, I have nothing to worry about. And so that's just another piece of encouragement for you, is to remain unwithered. Like, God is the calm in the middle of the storm. So just remain in him, and he will bring peace to you. He will bring everything that you need, everything that you're looking for. And always remember, y'all, he knows what's best for us as his children. Like, we may think like, this is best for me, but he's like, no, I have better for you, you know? And so that's just also a piece of reminder. And then I also wanted to talk about like joy. Like, I feel like I had a great like one of my favorite pastors, he was just giving us like this revelation about joy. And so it's like joy is a fruit of the spirit. Therefore, like, it's a fruit of the, so it should not change. Like, we should all be filled with joy. Like, happiness changes based on like circumstances, but joy should not change no matter what circumstance you're in. Like, no matter what you're in, you should have joy, because joy comes from the Lord. And so if you're like, I just don't feel, I'm depressed, like I just don't have the spirit of joy, ask God to give you that. Like, joy is of God. And so whenever we have joy, we're able to remain calm in the storm. We're able to smile through the pain. And that's just the best reward you can ever get. And so I also just wanted to share something I got about joy from you, Pastor. Okay. So joy is not a choice, it's a feeling. That's so good. I was like, wow, I'm just gonna read y'all some amazing notes. And so how do we continue to pray and operate out of a place of joy? Like, how do we do that? Your faith suffers whenever you allow yourself to forget all God has done. So it's like whenever we get caught up in our problems and whenever we get caught up on what hasn't happened yet, we become ungrateful and we forget all God has done. And so always remember that gratitude is the seed of joy. In order to have joy, you have to realize all the things God has done for you. And like whenever we realize how good he has, how good he has been, and how good he will be, we're filled with that joy. Like, it's not like, oh my gosh, he still has to answer this prayer with Christ, like I'm not happy. Like, no, like whenever we truly have gratitude for the Lord, then that plants a seed of joy in our life, because we will always be grateful for all he's done. Therefore, we will always have joy in us because he's just an amazing father. So always remember that gratitude, like your thankfulness to God and of God, is the seed of joy. Like, that plants a seed of joy in you. That was such a good reminder for me. And then look forward to what God will do. Whenever you're going through a hard season this year, y'all, always remember, he's done it before and he'll do it again. I know it's easier said than done. I know it's cliche. It's like, that's like, it's easier, like, but just remember, like, he delivered me from this last year. Like, he will deliver me from this again. Like, I'm gonna get past this. I'm gonna get over this. I'm not stuck in my sin. I'm not stuck in this. Like, no, he has delivered me from this before. He will do it again. Like, he is such a good and faithful father. So why wouldn't he do it again? And like, I always say this, I feel like I say this every podcast, but God knows what we need better than what we think we need. So he loves you too much to answer your prayers at any other time than the right time, and any other way than the right way. Like, I just hold on to that, because it's like, okay, if my prayer requests aren't answered, I'm just not ready yet. And God knows that. Like, why would he give me something I'm not ready for? Like, what? And then we're going to be complaining when it's not working out because we're not ready for it. And so that's just something I've held on to. It's like, God, if I don't have this right now, I'm not lacking just because everyone else has it. No. He loves me too much to give me something I'm not ready for. So maybe you're just not ready. And it sucks to hear, but it's the truth. And then the third thing of how we continue to operate out of a place of joy is love what he's doing right now. There's like, I don't know, unless you're like cocky and you're blind, he is doing something in your life right now. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, he's doing something good for you right now. So love the season you're in. Don't regret it or hate it or wish you were somewhere else. Like, no, like, he's intentionally working in this season. And so I always say this, bloom where you are planted at. Like, whatever season you are in, if you are in your singleness season, if you're in your waiting season, if you're in your marriage season, if you're in your dating season, engaged, whatever season you are in, bloom where you are planted. Like, this is your time to be the brightest, the biggest plant ever. Like, bloom, y'all. Don't just blossom and not grow and die. Don't just wither away and die and become weeds. No. bloom in the season you are planted in. No matter if it sucks, all you can do is grow and bloom in this season. And so that's my piece of encouragement for you, is to bloom. Like when you bloom, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, God, thank you. And what did I say? Gratitude is the seed of joy. So it's like, I don't care if it's 1 step, 2 steps, 2 weeks from now. Take a step towards God, towards the lighted path, and I promise you, He will be at the end of the tunnel. He will continue lighting your way whenever you take those steps. And so that's just what I've been walking through, like not walking through this year, but that's just some, I feel like, encouragement God had placed on me this year, is to take 1 step forward each day. Like progress to the world is not the same. It does not look like progress to God. Like progress to the world is being in a relationship, being married. Like, no, I feel like the world has told us that if we're not in a relationship right now, if we're not married right now, then we failed at something. And so many of us hate the season that we're in right now because it doesn't look like success to the world. But maybe God's definition of success right now for you is to be the closest you've ever been to Him, to grow His kingdom way further along than you would do in a relationship. Not saying anything bad about a relationship, but even in Corinthians, Paul says it's better for man to be alone, because that's when we have undivided attention on God. So maybe you're alone right now because this is your time to blossom, to grow His kingdom like it has never happened. Like, you never know. You could be a world changer in this season right now, and you're sad because you don't have your person right now. But God's like, you're not ready for that yet, you know? And so that's just some sweet, sweet reminder, guys. And yeah, I feel like I've been yapping, but it's been like 30 minutes. And I just hope that y'all are like taking notes and just writing these encouragements down and just like applying them to life, y'all. Like, practical things you can do to make 2025 better than 2024. And like, yeah, life sucks, and yeah, we can say 2024 was not a great year. It was a hard year, but it's like, God, I'm so thankful for that year and everything you did in that year. Like, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have grown. I wouldn't have learned as much as I did. I wouldn't have started this podcast. Like, it's so easy to be ungrateful. But we need to remember the important thing is gratitude, because gratitude keeps us joy. Being ungrateful just keeps us mad and sad and depressed. No, gratitude brings us joy for our Father. And so I just feel like so many of us, we lack gratitude just because we're not where we think we should be. And we just become mad at God because it's like, God, you're doing it in their life. Why can't you do it in mine? And then the last thing, I was listening to, I literally love her, Jackie Hill Perry, and I don't even know if I wrote it down. Like, I honestly don't think I did. Man, y'all, I forgot. I did not write it down, but she said something, and that convicted me, you know, because basically along the lines of like a lot of us, like we look, for instance, let's just say like, I don't know, you have a job you want, okay? And so it's like, okay, God, let's just say I see this person in my life, and it's like, God has given them the job they want, the person they want to marry. Like, God has given them everything, and He hasn't given it to me. He's not a good father to me, like, because he's good to them, but He's not good to me. And I feel like a lot of us struggle with that. Like, we see God do things in other people's life, and so it's like, God, you're not, like, how is it fair that you did it to them, but you didn't do it to me? So you're not good, because I want that, and you still haven't given that to me. And so a lot of times we can be like, God, you aren't good. Like, that's not fair. And it's like, no, like, God knows what we need at the exact time we need it. Therefore, maybe that person was ready for it and you weren't. Like, maybe that person did the work behind the scenes before you even knew you needed to do work. And so I just feel like it can be so easy to get caught up in what everyone else has that you don't, and what everyone else is doing that you aren't, that we become to grow bitterness and jealousy towards God. Because it's like, God, like, I'm serving you unconditionally just as they are, but they received this and I haven't even received what I asked for yet. And so we can grow that bitterness and jealousy towards that person and towards God. But God's like, no, like, Ataya, you don't see what I'm doing in your life. Like, if that just comparison is the thief of joy. And so always remember, y'all, like, your life, God has different plans for all of us. Their plan is not your plan. Their path is not your path. Like, the roads are gonna be different. And so do not compare your level of success to everyone else's. Like, just don't compare, you know? Like, God has you where you are for a specific reason. Just because you haven't started that business yet, just because you haven't started that job yet, just because you're not in a relationship yet, doesn't mean you're successful. Like, that does not determine if you're successful or not, if you have a good life. Like, no, y'all. Like, we need to become content in where God has us. And so I feel like a lot of times we lack that. And so, my encouragement would be to you, like, instead of going to like our feelings and emotions about like the things that God hasn't given us, let's go to God about it. Like, let's open the Bible. Like, God, what do you say? Who do you say I am? Remind me who I am. Instead of always going to other things and other voids to fill us, we need to be going to the temple and going to God to replace the doubt and the unbelief. And so, yeah, guys, yeah, and so I just want last few things leaving off. I just want to remind y'all, like, let's not let emotions dictate our year. Let's not live in emotional idolatry. And emotional idolatry is when we let our feelings like comfort us and they become our comforter. If that makes sense. Like, the Holy Spirit is your comforter, not how you feel, not your feelings, not that person. Like, anything that comforts you besides the Holy Spirit is an idol in your life. And so we need to make sure it's so easy to let our emotions and how we feel comfort us and be like, yeah, it's okay for me to be sad. Like, yeah, it's okay, but get up. But a lot of us, we just sit in that. It's like, this is how I am. It's okay for me. And that becomes our comforter, when the only person who should be our comforter is the Holy Spirit. And y'all, that just convicted me in so many ways. But I just wanted to give y'all that reminder that God is the only person who will fulfill all your needs, who will ever complete you, no other thing, no other person. And so going into 2025, I just want us to have a fresh mindset, y'all. Find godly community. Like, reach out. Like, if you're in the Lafayette, Louisiana area, text me. Like, I'm always free. But like, wherever you live, it's so important that this year grow your godly community, because you cannot do this on your own. I repeat, you cannot do this on your own. It is so hard to live for God by yourself, and that's not how God intended it to be. And then my second thing would be, I said it, y'all, but I forgot what my second thing was. We need community. Oh, and to pray, God, help my unbelief. Whatever, I know you promised me this, but whatever in me does not believe, help my unbelief. And it's okay to ask God to help our unbelief. So that's just my encouragement to y'all, to talk with God. Don't just treat him like a genie. Don't treat him like he wants you to talk to him about things. He wants you to wrestle with him about things. Like, he wants to talk to you. He wants to have a relationship with you. And so y'all, talk to him. And then my other piece of encouragement would be to find that godly community. And so if you're watching this, I pray that this was such a good episode. It's a great step into 2025, and I just challenge you to write down all your goals. Write down your goals on a piece of paper, okay? Write them all down, and then separate them into 4 quadrants, like I said, and break them down like quadrant by quadrant. And I promise you, 2025 will look way better than 2024, because 1, we didn't do this in 2024, and 2, it's obtainable. It's not like, oh my gosh, I have all these goals. How am I going to do this at one time? Because I feel like we have all these goals and we try to tackle it at one time. So break them down into quadrants, and by quadrant, achieve these goals and bloom in whatever season you are planted in, wherever God has you right now. Bloom in that season. That would be my encouragement to you. And just know that Jesus loves you so much, I love you so much, and that you are not alone in this world, and that you are worthy, guys. And so, yeah, I always forget to say this, but like, comment, and subscribe. I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching the Pruning Podcast. Follow us on Instagram at the Pruning Podcast. And if you have any questions, y'all can DM me, question me. I'm literally so excited for these next few episodes, because I have a few guests coming on. And I feel like I haven't done like a solo episode in so long. So I just want to do like a little catch up, a little debrief with y'all going into 2025. But yes, guys, I love you guys so much. And I just pray we walk this year out together and that this year is the best year ever. Whatever your word is, like, pray to God, what is my word for 2025? Like, ask him, what is your word? And stand on that truth. Like, this year, I'm going to be fruitful and I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to pursue things, you know? And so whatever that is, your word could be faith. I'm lacking faith. God, this year, I'm going to have faith in whatever you've promised me. Or trust. I'm going to trust you to whatever it is. Pray and ask him. And I promise you, he will reveal that word to you. But yeah, guys, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching the Pruning Podcast. And I love you.